This is section 2.3. We're going to be graphing lines. And the homework assignment 36 through 57. A little bit of vocabulary. A graph of every linear equation in two variables is a line. The root word for linear is line, so you know that a linear equation is going to be a line. Standard form of a linear equation, a number times x plus a number times y is equal to a number. Slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, where m represents the slope and b is the y part of the y-intercept. To find the x-intercept, you let y equal 0 and solve for x. To find the y-intercept, let x equal 0 and solve for y. Alright, so we have slope-intercept form. We have y equals mx plus b. M represents the slope. If I ask you for the slope, I do not want that letter x in the answer. The slope is a number only, number only. It's the number in front of the x. It's the coefficient for the x. It is not x itself. The y-intercept is a point. The x value of that point is going to be 0. The y value is going to come from that number right there. Remember, the y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. So I'm going to have some line like this. This point right here on the y-axis, that would be the y-intercept. Example 1, find the slope and the y-intercept of the line. Well, in order to find the y-intercept, the equation has to be in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So the first thing you have to do is to get y by itself. You have to solve for y. So solve for y. So I have 5 times y minus 2 times x is equal to 38. Have to get y by itself. Well, the stuff that's on the same side as y has to be gotten rid of. You have to get it on the other side of the equal sign. And you add or subtract first, which is, remember, it's the opposite order. When you're solving, you do the opposite of order of operations. So add 2x to both sides. You get 5y is equal to. Now, one thing I've been noticing as you guys have been working on your homework is you're trying to combine those. You cannot combine them unless they're like terms. In other words, the 2x cannot be added to the 38 because the 38 does not have an x. Still need to get the y by itself. I have 5 times y. The opposite of times is divide. And so my equation, y equals 2/5 x plus 38 fifths. So the slope is this number that's in front of the x, and my y-intercept, my x value has to be 0, but this is going to give me my y value. All right, I will, in the interest of time, I will let you do example 2 on your own. If you have questions, just let me know. All right, let's suppose we want to graph a line and the equation is in slope-intercept form. I do want to remind you this notation means y. So this is the same thing as y equals negative 1/2 x minus 3. So first thing you have to do, step 1, is plot the y-intercept knowing that b is negative 3. Well, knowing that b is negative 3 means I have to put a point on the y-axis at negative 3. So that's that point right there. The second thing you have to do is from that point that you just plotted, not from 0, 0, from this point right here, you have to do rise over run. Well, since my slope is negative 1/2, that means I'm going to go down 1 and to the right 2, because that's a positive 2. So let's clear this out a little bit. So from this point, I'm going to go down 1 and to the right 2. That gets me another point on the line. Connect the dots. Okay. Be careful when the slope is negative. Be very careful when the slope is negative. If my slope is negative 1 over 2, that's a negative 1 over positive 2, which is not the same thing as negative 1 over negative 2. If I'm going down, I do not get to go to the left. Another way of plotting a negative 1/2 slope is to put the negative on the 2 instead of the 1. So I could go up 1 and to the left 2. That would be allowed. It's the same thing. Let me show you. It's the same thing. So I could go up 1 and to the left 2, and notice it's still on that same line. So you get the same line whether you go down 1 right 2 or up 1 left 2. All right, so example 3, we want to graph this, and the slope is the number that's the coefficient for x, not x itself. So slope is 2/3, and b is 2. So this tells me, got to do this one first. I'm going to put a point on the y-axis, my y-intercept, at 2. And since my slope is positive, positive 2, positive 3, I'm going to go up 2 to the right 3, which puts me right here. And connect the dots. Example 4, I will have you do that one on your own. Let's take a look at example 5. Now, if I just have a negative 3x minus 1, remember a slope is a ratio. I need a number on top and a number on the bottom. If there is no number on the bottom, go ahead and put that over 1. So we're going to say the slope is negative 3 over 1, and b is negative 1. So on the y-axis, I'm going to put a point at negative 1. The slope is negative 3 over positive 1. So I'm going to go down 3 and to the right 1. And here is my line. Example 6, I'm going to have you graph this one on your own, but I do want to mention if we don't write the coefficient, that's a coefficient of 1. This is the same thing as y equals 1 over 1x plus 4. So knowing that, you should be able to graph this one. All right, let's talk about graphing when you're not in slope-intercept form, but when you're in standard form. We are going to talk about this in the... Oh, we still got time. Okay, so graphing a line in standard form. It's not quite as simple as graphing in slope-intercept form, but it's still not difficult. What you need to do is find the x-intercept and find the y-intercept. This is an easy thing to do because you're plugging in 0 into the equation. Anytime you plug in 0 to an equation, that's the easiest number to plug in. So suppose we have negative 4x plus 3y equals 12 and want to graph it. You could solve for y. That's the long way. You're more likely to make a mistake. I do not recommend it at all whatsoever. But you could solve for y and graph it that way. A better, faster, easier way is to find the x-intercept. So notice my x and y are on the same side. So what I want you to do to find the x-intercept is you're going to replace your y value with 0. And then solve. Your y value is 0, and then you're going to solve. Well, 3 times, so let me clear this out. 3 times 0 is going to give me 0. And if I'm adding 0, because I have negative 4x plus 0 equals 12, I don't need to write the plus 0. So this turns into negative 4x equals 12. In other words, I don't even need to worry about this. I just have to worry about the negative 4x equals 12. Divide by negative 4, and I get x equals negative 3. Now remember, I started this process with saying my y value was 0, and I just found an x value equal to negative 3. So you can either write it as an ordered pair, or you can make a chart. So your x value is negative 3, your y value is 0. You're going to repeat that same process, only this time you're finding the y-intercept. To find the y-intercept, you let x equals 0. Again, anything times 0 is 0. We don't need to worry about 0 here. I've got 3y equals 12, divide by 3, and you get y equals 4. And we started this process by saying x was equal to 0, and we found y to be 4. This will give us 2 points, negative 3, 0, and 0, 4. Negative 3, 0, and 0, 4. And connect the dots, and now you have your line. Alright, so let's take a look at example 7. We're going to graph this using the x and y intercepts. So to summarize the information, we're going to start by plugging 0 in for y. So I have x minus 2 times 0 is equal to negative 4. Negative 2 times 0 is 0. And I don't need to worry about the 0. I get x equals negative 4. I'm going to repeat the process, only this time I'm going to let my x equal 0. So I have 0 minus 2y is equal to negative 4. 0 I don't have to worry about. I got negative y, or negative 2y is equal to negative 4. Divide by negative 2, and I get y equals 2. Okay, so those are my 2 points. I got negative 4, 0, which is right here. My x is negative 4, my y is 0, and my other point is 0, 2. Go over 0 up 2, gives me this line. I missed the dot, so I'm going to make that dot bigger, and there you go. There's your line. All right, I'm going to have you do this one on your own. Let's take a look at example number 9 real quick. And then I'm going to switch to, I was going to do part 2. Why does that keep doing that? Okay. All right, so x and y, plug in 0 for y. 6x minus 3 times 0 is equal to 18. 6x equals 18. Divide by 6, and you get x equals 3. And notice what happened here. When I plugged in y equals 0, that was gone. So I don't even need to worry about it. 6x equals 18. Now, repeat the process, only this time x is going to be 0. 6 times 0 minus 3y is equal to 18. Be careful, this is minus 3y. You're dividing by negative 3. Be very careful with your positives and your negatives, and you get y equals a negative 6. Plot those 2 points. 3, 0, 0, negative 6. And connect the dots with a straight line, preferably. And there you go. All right, so horizontal and vertical lines, we're going to talk about that in part 2. So I'm going to stop here and then take a look at part 2 for the next bit of notes.